Our scriptures this morning, there are two of them. The first reading is from Proverbs, and it's Proverbs 3, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 12. So Proverbs 3, 1 through 12. My child, never forget the things I have taught you. Store my commands in your heart, for they will give you a long and satisfying life. Never let loyalty and kindness get away from you. Wear them like a necklace. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will gain a good reputation. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will direct your path. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn your back on evil. Then you will gain renewed health and vitality. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the best part of everything your land produces. Then he will fill your barns with grain, and your vats will overflow with the finest wine. My child, don't ignore it when the Lord disciplines you, and don't be discouraged when he corrects you. For the Lord corrects those he loves, just as a father corrects a child in whom he delights. Our second reading this morning comes from the book of Romans, and it's chapter 12, verses 6 through 12. So Romans 12, 6 through 12. God has given each of us the ability to do certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophecy, speak out when you have faith that God is speaking through you. If your gift is that of serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, do a good job of teaching. If your gift is to encourage others, do it. If you have money, share it generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have a gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly. Don't just pretend that you love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Stand on the side of good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy in your work, but serve the Lord enthusiastically. Be glad for all God is planning for you. Be patient in trouble and always be prayerful. It's pretty neat to get to do this with my family here today. There's all kinds of blessings that come in different forms with our little family. But having everybody here, or at least I think everybody's still here, might be exploring the church. She is very much the middle child, and she will go the way she will go. But anyways, it's not always easy. It's not always Father's Day where everybody smiles and hugs. And a few months ago, I was standing in the front door of my parents' house, and I was in tears. I was overwhelmed, I was tired, and I was unsure of what to do next. The thing I wanted most in that moment was a hug and an answer from my dad. It is in those moments that I'm most grateful for the parents that I have. And it's in those moments that it's a little bit easier to understand the privilege of being blessed, to being born in the household where I was born. To have a mom and a dad that love you unequivocally. And not only that, they work hard to model a marriage that work to put itself above rearing children, something that is no easy task, but it's pretty integral if you want to keep a household together. My first job out of university was as a grain trader for the co-op in Mitchell. Beyond learning that I was not suited to sit in a cubicle from 9 to 5, I did get to spend most of my Tuesdays having lunch with my grandma and grandpa Skinner. And beyond my own parents, there's likely no more influential couple in my life. It was at one of those lunches that Grandpa was in a bang the table kind of mood, in which I think maybe he recognized he was running out of time. Running out of time to finish off his quest of leaving the world better than he found it. Good men must stand up and say what needs to be said, even if no one wants to hear it, he said with conviction that day at the table. I took those words to heart. It was that rallying cry, if you will, that got me involved in politics. It was those words that fueled my fingers when I would write columns for our local papers or magazines. It was that call to action that would drive my feet to microphones at meetings to say my piece. It's also why in 2022, I was feeling pretty ruined. And I have no intention to rip off old scabs here, but for me, the pandemic was not a fun time. And when it hit in 2020, I was about a decade into what I would call kind of a good run, if you will, when it comes to mental health and just general feeling pretty good. I've shared with you when I was here a few weeks ago about it was in 2019, how I kind of rediscovered the joy that comes from a church community and the healing power that can be there. For me, part of staying healthy came from being involved in my communities, whether that be church, sports, or agriculture. And I wouldn't call it an empty busyness either. I lived out my purpose through service, giving my time, and in turn, I was surrounded by other folks who helped fill me with positive energy so that I could keep plowing ahead. When society closed up in March of 2020, I was shut out of those communities that were a really important source of care for me. I felt isolated and alone, and I was hurting, and I think a lot of others were as well. There are a lot of parts of that I struggled to understand, but I want to keep this on Father's Day, so I'm going to just hold it to one example. But in the middle of that period, when I knew I needed help with my drinking, I tried to find a meeting. And all of the meetings were canceled due to social distancing. But the LCBO never closed for a moment. The whole of COVID for me took a little seed of cynicism that had been planted during my time in politics, and it kind of blossomed into a rainforest of distrust of everything. It doesn't matter, police, government, doctors, you name it, I stopped trusting, and it really got filled by cynicism and anger. And while time has worked to let scabs develop, my lack of trust in our society still kind of remains and has complicated my own quest to be a dad. That's why I was on my parents' step that day. I was broken up because I was genuinely confused how to emulate my own parents. And it was in that moment with my parents on that day that I learned something pretty important. My dad didn't know the answer. He had no clear direction for me because he himself was questioning things around him. And while I had been getting an inkling for a little while, that day proved it to me. My dad was a human. I hoped he would smile, but I guess might need to know the backstory there, I suppose. For most of my life, I didn't see my father as a human. Through my eyes, he seemed perfect. He was respected. He was a community leader, is a community leader. He's sitting right here. He was is a good farmer. He never seemed fearful or unsure of what to do next. And from my earliest memories, all I ever wanted to do was copy in his footsteps. I wanted to be like my dad. I saw the impact he made, and I was in a serious rush to be like Larry. Yet it was that feeling that my dad was perfect that could cause consternation between us. And it has only been in the last little while that I've been able to accept that not only is dad a human, he can be just as confused as me when it comes to parenting. Another reason I saw my dad as perfect stems from the fact that he did a very good job of modeling the words from Hebrews 2 while we were young. You love what is right and you hate what is wrong. The world is less complicated when you're 8 years old, and if you watch your own father exercise great self-control when it comes to sins of the world, you watch him maintain a sense of inner peace and quiet confidence that never seemed to be shaken by worldly influence around him, it appeared that the formula to be a good dad was pretty easy. I've known for a long time that my dad's inner peace and quiet confidence is not of this world. It's because of his faith in Jesus. As long as I've known him, I've known that he had that unshakable faith. I've known that Jesus was the source of his, or I shouldn't say, I've known that it's his faith that is the source of his power. But what I have not known for a long time is how hard he has to work at maintaining it. As his son, it looked to me like it was easy for Dad to maintain that faith. And I didn't recognize the work he put in, nor did I see that even with his faith, Dad suffered from doubt. I think the hardest part about parenting is the never-ending dread that you have no idea what you're doing. On the day I went to Mom and Dad's, I wanted some universal piece of wisdom, something that could calibrate my good parent meter, a tidbit that could quiet my own questions and provide clarity on what to do next. Instead, I got an I don't know. And those are tough questions to wrestle with. Learning that your father is human is scary, but at the same time, for me, it was liberating. It's okay to have no idea how to be a good dad, because the great dad I have is still learning on the job, and at times he doesn't have the answer himself. From our first scripture this morning, I'm just lifting this phrase. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear the Lord and turn your back on evil. Then you will gain renewed health and vitality. This is great advice for those of us trying to figure out how to be good parents. It doesn't tell us that we can't celebrate a win. Get excited when we see our children succeed in a positive way. It's really important that we feel good about the work we're trying to do raising children, but at the same time, never thinking we all have it all figured out. And if you want to really test yourself, add in a third one, because when you're out of practice with newborns, you get to test all kinds of things. I'm still fueled by Grandpa Skinner's call to action, but I've learned now that standing up and saying what needs to be said has a lot more nuance than I realized as a 24-year-old hungry to put my stamp on the world. At the time, changing the world to me meant doing things that would be recorded in history books. Big things. Powerful things. That day with my parents was part of me learning that nuance in Grandpa's words. It wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have heard, I don't know. But when I reflect on it, those were the words that needed to be said at that time. God makes each one of us imperfect. No human walking the earth today will ever know perfection. Our imperfection is why the idea of perfect parenting is a fallacy. I was astounded this week to read an article about social media influencers who have monetized projecting a perfect family, if you will, to the world. Cashing checks from companies eager to capitalize on our fears about being crappy parents. One of the couples that was in this profile had been canceled, if you will. They lost all their lucrative sponsor deals because the imperfections of their own family life became impossible to filter out with editing and editing of pictures and videos. While the world around us tries to imply that perfection is just around the corner, something that could be attained through monetary or earthly deeds, there's freedom in knowing that perfection is impossible. I will never be a perfect father to Bryce, May, and Dorothy, but I can take the command of Romans 12 seriously. I can be honest in my estimate of myself. I can use the gifts that God has given me to His glory. And every day I breathe, I can love others. I can really love them. I can serve the Lord enthusiastically. I can celebrate that I have my dad here on earth to pick me up, dust me off, and keep me going when I need it. I can work hard every day so that I don't let evil get the best of me, but instead conquer it by doing good. I can see the blessing of being imperfect, and I can keep trying to say what needs to be said. join in prayer here. Dear Lord, thank you for our earthly fathers who have come before us. While every earthly father fades with time, you remain the constant, and for that we are grateful, because it is only through you that we can seek out perfection. During our sliver of time on earth, it is you that blesses us with talents. Give us the wisdom to know when to be like the servants in Matthew who doubled their master's money, while at the same time not being blind to the arrogance that can walk hand in hand with success. Aid us in our quest to teach our children about you, knowing that through you, our children's children will thrive. Amen. So we're going to do another supplied hymn. So it's on the back of the printer, or of the printed page, and it's called Above All. I'm just going to... Too much technology for me here. I got to